little bit early to test the volume. You guys can let me know what the volume situation is because I'm always pressing buttons. You might ask yourself, Joe, why do you press buttons if you don't know what's happening? And I will tell you, I don't know. Don't know why I'm pressing buttons if I don't have to, but I like pressing buttons. It says excellent connection, so I don't know if I'll believe that or not, but we'll go with it. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe and welcome to what should be another fun edition of Believers Talk. We have plenty to talk about here. Again, thank you for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. As you can tell by the thumbnail, we're going to talk NFL draft. Hey Nate, first one in here. Glad you're in here again. While you guys are getting in here, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like this video. Got on here a little bit prior to 9:30, guys. Hey Ronald, how you doing? Let me know how the sound is on your end. I've been doing some messing around with the sound. Let me know if it's good. Let me know if there's an echo. Let me know what's going on. Rich, good to see you. That's why I got in here just a few minutes early. So that way, for those of you who know, I normally go live 9:30 on Thursdays, just to make sure the sound's okay. We won't go over anything of substance between now and 9:30. I'll answer some of your questions in the comment section if you have any. Nate, again. But again, let me know how the sound is working as you guys start joining in here. Again, 9:27 p.m. on the East Coast. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. And everything obviously is still going on. We seem to be getting better, or maybe not better, but it seems like the country is beginning to start going back to normal. I got told today at work that we're going to start opening things back up on May 11th. So I hope you guys are beginning to see a little bit more back to normal. I mean, obviously it's going to take some time. Sounds great. Good. Hey, Ghost. Hey, Rez. How you doing? Audio is good. That's really good to hear. We're probably going to wait till about 9:30 to really start talking. Some things I want to talk about today, while we're live, I want to talk about the NFL draft. Did the Buffalo Bills do this right? I'm going to get into this. Let's get into this, guys. Let's go. It's Thursday night. We're here. Bills Mafia. Let's go crazy. All right. So, did the Buffalo Bills do the draft right? Are there picks where they could have done better? We're going to look at that. I'm going to give you some information about the draft that you might not have known about the Buffalo Bills. For example, when do you think the last time was the Buffalo Bills did not have a draft day trade where they had a trade on draft day? Remember, the past few drafts, we've seemed to have drafted a lot on draft day. So when was the last time we didn't have a draft day trade? That didn't happen this year. Despite what plenty of us thought, finishing my steak and shrimp, that sounds delicious, Ronald. That sounds delicious. I would say mail it to me, but by then it probably won't be as delicious. Bryson with Mick Jagger. Not me. Nope, I'm not like Mick Jagger. Wasn't there a song that mentioned Mick Jagger? I don't know. I don't listen to music. So anyway, but did the Buffalo Bills do everything correct? Was there things they could have done better? We're going to talk about that. Now listen, if you watch my previous episode about my draft grade, you know I gave the Buffalo Bills an A- in the draft, right? But that does not mean they couldn't have done better. How could that A- have become an A or an A+? I'll let you know. But there were some great picks on Friday and Saturday. I really enjoyed the draft. I hope you guys did too. Ronnie says he's happy with that. Me too. Listen, if I give a grade of an A-, I promise that means I'm happy with the draft. So if you're joining me and you're like, oh, Joe's just being a Debbie Downer. First of all, my name's not Debbie. Secondly, I am so excited about this draft class. I'm just wondering, are there things the Buffalo Bills could have done better? No worries, Nate. Again, we're not going to get started for another minute or so, really. And then we're going to talk about the roster. Remember, guys, right now the Buffalo Bills can have up to a 90-man roster. So how many players are currently on the roster? How many players do we have room to gather? And, this will include the addition of Brian Knox Jr. that we added yesterday to this team. I did a live breaking news edition of Believers Talk when we signed him. And guys, if you're new to this channel, you can expect those breaking news stories every single time the Buffalo Bills sign a new player or release a new player, or there's some kind of news revolving around the Buffalo Bills. I promise I'll have you covered right here. The draft has surpassed my expectations, says Rich G. Super happy. I'm really happy, but I don't know. But we got We got some really good players. We did. But it's all a matter of, will they fit our system? Will they fit our scheme? One thing we talk about with AJ Epenesa, I'm so happy with AJ. Again, I gave that draft pick an A+. You talk about perfect timing. You know, talk about getting the right guy, possibly the best player available, as we kept talking about. You know, there were some mock drafts back when we had the 22nd overall pick that had us picking Epenesa in the first round. If you had told me going into the draft, at the beginning, when we still had our first and second round pick, if you had told me in the first round we would have gotten AJ Epenesa, in the second round we would have gotten Zack Moss, I would have been happy with that. So how can't I be happy when in the second round we get AJ Epenesa, and then in the third round we get Zack Moss? Those are two fantastic picks. Hey Apex, how you doing? Hey Kevin, glad to see you in here. A combo of 10 or so experts had the Bills around the 9th best in the league. Well, you're going to listen to the Buffalo Bills expert in this one. You're going to listen to what this expert had to say. Where did I rank the Bills as far as drafts in the league? Where did they fit? Man, I loved Arizona's draft. I really liked the Broncos draft. I thought they had a really good draft. But if you were to tell me the Bills had a top 5 draft, I would not say you were crazy. I'd say they had a pretty dang good draft. So put it up there. Hey, Daniel, glad to see you in here. Waiting for everyone to get here at 9:30. Again, if you're new, every Thursday, 9:30, we're here live talking Buffalo Bills football. So make sure you tune in. And during the regular season, it might not be 9:30, but it's halftime of Thursday Night Football. So you know, if you want some live Buffalo Bills coverage on Thursday night, check out Billievers Talk. We got you covered. Follow me on Twitter. If you're following me on YouTube, hit that notification button, because YouTube will notify you when we put new content out, when we go live, things like that. Always enjoy hanging out with you guys. Dan says surprising good picks in 4th and 6th receivers. The pick that might be getting underestimated here is also that 7th round pick. We'll go over those picks again. But also, like I said, I want to ask, Daniel, you're funny. You're a funny guy. We'll ask, did the Buffalo Bills do the best they could? What I'm going to do is, even though listen, there's no better pick than AJ Epenesa when we got him. There isn't. I'm going to see if there's someone on this list that I can argue for and say, hey, and that was picked after our pick, and say we could have got this guy, and this guy would have been a big addition for the Buffalo Bills and a good addition to the Buffalo Bills. So I'll do that for every single pick. That doesn't mean I didn't like the picks or love the picks. Again, love the AJ pick, love the Zack Moss pick. I gave AJ A+. I gave Zack an A. I gave the Bills an A- overall. So obviously I loved this draft class. But let's have some fun. That's what we're here to do. We'll go over the roster, where it sits currently, and we'll go over the salary cap with the signing of Brian Cox, with these drafted players, with the undrafted players. Where does that leave the Buffalo Bills? All that and much more. I'll get to your comments. Always have a good time right here on Billievers Talk. So again, guys, if you're just joining me, I'll do it again. Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this Thursday night live edition of Billievers Talk, where we talk all Buffalo Bills sports. And if there's some breaking Buffalo sports news, maybe the Sabres. Obviously, the Sabres are taking some time off. I did a Sabres video not too long ago. If you want to talk about the Buffalo Bulls, we can talk about them. Their basketball team, men's basketball team, just suffered a suspension and some other rules violations that will cost them some money and other valuable things. And then we'll also talk some Buffalo Bisons. Unfortunately, the Bisons, of course, out as well. I got my 6'4" guy, so everything else is butter. It's butter. You're worried until the 6th round then if you want that 6'4" guy, because we didn't get him until the 6th round. I'm going to play devil's advocate. All right, Shoot Darts, you play some devil's advocate. We're going to have a good time. So first, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills NFL draft. The 2020 NFL draft, again, if you haven't seen the video, I gave the Buffalo Bills an A- overall for the draft. Loved their draft this season, okay? But let's be honest, the Buffalo Bills did not have a first-round pick. The Buffalo Bills did not pick until the 2nd round. Could they have done better? So I'm going to go round by round. I'm going to give you our pick. I'm going to give you some names that went after our pick, and I'm going to ask you guys, do you think the Buffalo Bills picked the best player available? And for some of these, I'm going to say yes, they did. And for some of these, I'm going to say no, they could have done better. There's one pick in particular that I'm saying no, we could have done better. We should have done better. So we're going to start with round 2. right? Let's start with round 2. And so in round 2, the Buffalo Bills picked at number 54. We were on this channel together on Wednesday before the draft. Just last Wednesday, we were on this channel together, and we did not one but 2 mock drafts together. We had a great time doing it. We had fun. But in both mock drafts, we traded. So let me know in the comment section, yes or no. Were you surprised that Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills did not have a single draft day trade this season? Guys, this is the first time that the Buffalo Bills have not had a draft day trade since 2015. 2015, that goes back a ways, and there's a reason why we didn't trade in 2015, because we didn't have any picks. Remember 2014? 2014 was the NFL draft where we wasted it away, got Sammy Watkins. We traded up from 9 or 10 up to 4. I thought we were getting Khalil Mack. I was going to be the happiest guy in the world. But no, we screw it up. We go after Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, instead of getting any of the other wide receivers in that draft class, other than maybe Kelvin Benjamin, who we end up getting anyway later. The only 2 running backs of the 2014 draft class that screwed the pooch, Bills get them both. I can't believe it. But yeah, you can't get Evans. Mike Evans would have been there at 9. Hey, how you doing, Rick? Good to see you. I'm glad to see everyone in that draft in the chat as well. Make sure you hit that like button. You could have gotten Evans in that draft. No, forget about it. You don't get Evans. Oh, you could have got Odell Beckham in that draft, even though some people would argue, hey, it's better that we didn't get Odell Beckham with all of his personality issues. But maybe if he comes to Buffalo right away, we don't have that problem. Nothing humbles somebody like going to Buffalo, right? I mean, you listen to this media, you listen to what people say. You go to Buffalo, it's a different culture. It's different than being in New Jersey playing for the Giants, okay? So then you look at some of the other players. Jarvis Landry was in that draft class. It was a pretty deep wide receiver draft class then. So why did we trade up? I have never been a proponent of trading up to get a player that has a deep draft class behind it for that position. I've just never been a player that. Quite surprised, no trades. Red Dog says he was surprised as well. Yeah, surprised they didn't try to trade up. Like I said, last Wednesday we were here and we traded up in both of our mocks. A little surprised. So yeah, it's the first time since 2015. 2016, the Buffalo Bills traded 2016 the Bills traded with Chicago in the second round for Reggie Ragland. 2017 we traded with the Chiefs in the first round. We went back to 27, got our boy Tre'Davious White. 2018 we moved up with the Baltimore Ravens to get Tremaine Edmonds, and then of course in 2019 we traded in the second and third rounds. Traded in the second round to get Cody Ford. Traded in the third round to get Dawson Knox. Dan comes in. Mike Evans was the wide receiver to get in that draft. He was. And we could have gotten him for much cheaper than trading away our 2015 first-round draft pick, and I think our 4th or something like that. Absolutely ridiculous. Doug Whaley, still talk to you later. I just don't really care. So yeah, the 2020 Buffalo Bills NFL Draft was the first time that we had not traded a pick on draft day since 2015. Now, obviously, we traded a little bit earlier. We got Stephon Diggs. Basically, Stephon Diggs counts as our first-round draft pick. But we're going to look at the no more free agent moves. And we still have some space, Jack. Still some space. And we'll talk about that shortly. But first, let's talk about the NFL Draft. So round 2, we have the 54th overall pick. And, of course, by now you all know with the 54th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select A.J. Epenesa out of Iowa, right? Defensive edge, obviously the best player on the board at that time, but was he the best fit for the Buffalo Bills at that time? So I looked down the list at players that went after. Now, guys, obviously we could have traded up at some point and gotten someone, right? But I'm going to avoid that since the Buffalo Bills obviously did not want to trade this year. Brandon Beane, Coach McDermott, they didn't want to do a trade. Obviously, we're going to stick with who was drafted after. So Baltimore selecting J.K. Dobbins, the pick after us. Would you rather J.K. Dobbins over Zack Moss? To be honest with you, I wouldn't. I love Zack Moss. I'm glad he's with the Buffalo Bills. I think he complements Devin Singletary perfectly. I think he's what the Buffalo Bills need. So I'm very happy with Zack Moss in the second. But let's pretend for a second we didn't get Zack Moss in the second. What if we got J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State, running back in the second? and then we don't have Zack Moss in the third, I should say. We go after someone else. I'm not sure if I like that idea. I like the idea of having Zack Moss on this team. Huge fan of that. And yes, the Buffalo Bills are absolutely Super Bowl contenders this season. So then you go down a little bit, and there's one name that sticks out to me. One name that sticks out to me that the Buffalo Bills could have gotten that might have helped this team a little bit more than what we might see out of A.J. Epenesa. Yes, Daniel, I completely agree with you. Good fit, best player available. You had to take him. And I gave that pick an A+ when I did my grade, and I'm just playing devil's advocate just for fun. So there's one name that jumps out at me that was selected in the second round later than the Buffalo Bills pick that I say, could we have gone there? And I want your opinion on it, because you know this is all based on what you guys think. So I want to give you guys a chance to give me your opinion. With the 61st overall pick, the Tennessee Titans selected cornerback Christian Fulton out of LSU. And I think out of all the names that were taken in the second round after we picked up Epenesa, I think Christian Fulton's the second best name. I think Fulton would have been the only other name I would have been really good with taken at our pick. So let me tell you the names of the players that went after Epenesa in the second round. You had J.K. Dobbins, Raquan Davis, Van Jefferson, Ezra Cleveland, Denzel Mims. A lot of you like Denzel Mims, but here's my issue with taking a wide receiver in the second round. And some of you share this, some of you disagree, and that's fine either way. You basically used a first-round pick on a wide receiver when you traded for Stephon Diggs. Would you want to go back-to-back first and second-round picks in the same position? Now, I know the Broncos did, right? The Broncos got like 3 wide receivers with their first 4 picks or something like that, so that was kind of crazy. But Kelly, I'll talk about Brian Cox Jr. shortly. I did actually do a video yesterday about Brian Cox when the news broke, so we can talk about him a little bit more. Moss and AJ versus Dobbins and Uch. Yeah, absolutely. You could definitely put that together, right? Definitely a good fit. Although I think Uch was taken before our pick, wasn't he? Let me take a look. Defensive ends. Yeah, Uch was taken in 60th, right? 60th overall. So what you're saying is Moss and AJ versus so we couldn't have gotten Dobbins and Uch because or Uche, or however you say his name, from Michigan, because he was taken 60th, so we only could have gotten one of them overall. So what I would say is more like Dobbins and let's say Anthony Jennings, who was taking the pick after us in the third round. So, but let's go through the list of players that were taken after Epenesa, and you guys tell me which one, if any, you would have rather had. That's J.K. Dobbins, Raquan Davis, Van Jefferson, Ezra Cleveland, Denzel Mims. That's the one maybe that could pop out at you. Josh Uche, Christian Fulton, A.J. Dillon, Willie Gay Jr., and Jeremy Chin. I know a lot of you were talking about Jeremy Chin too. Definitely someone that you could take as well. But if you were, listen, I loved Epenesa pick. It was an A+. I had no issues with it at all. But forget him. He's not part of this draft right now. If you could pick one other player out of the names I just named, who would it have been? Would it have been Denzel Mims? Would it have been Christian Fulton? Or would it have been Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois? I think Fromm was a great pick for a development project. Rick, we're 2 rounds away from there. We're getting there, man. We're getting there, buddy. I promise you, we will get to Jake Fromm. And again, I did a video on every single one of the draft picks when we drafted them, so make sure you check those out if you haven't already. Do I think the 2 wide receivers? See, everyone's moving ahead. You want to move ahead so fast. I think that when you talk about the first wide receiver pick for the Buffalo Bills, Davis, right? Gabe Davis. I think that was a good pick. I don't think it was as great a value as the 6th round pick. I think the 6th round pick was a lot better for the Buffalo Bills than Gabe Davis was. But Gabe Davis is a good pick, but you still have to see some of the wide receivers that were on the board. And that's something I want to bring up when we get to that pick as well. Jeremy Chin says truth to hearts, devil's advocate. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here. Just saying, who would you rather other than, and I think Christian Fulton, cornerback, I think that's one position the Buffalo Bills didn't do a great job addressing in this draft, is that slot corner. Now, we did pick up a guy in the 7th round I really like, and we'll talk about him more when we get to him, but there's still some development that needs to go on there, so we'll see what happens. Chin and Duggar were on my radar. Well, Duggar was already taken. Duggar was taken way earlier at 37. Duggar taken at 37, there was no way that we were getting Duggar at 55 or 54. So we can forget about that for a minute, but yeah, definitely Chin was on a lot of people's boards. I know a lot of people like Chin. I like Christian Fulton on there. I thought that he would have been a pickup that would have been beneficial for the Buffalo Bills. I love AJ Epenesa. I think he's going to work out great for Buffalo. But as I brought up in his video, what if he's the next Shaq Lawson? Remember at Clemson, his final season, Shaq Lawson had 12 sacks for the Clemson Tigers. Bills draft him. He struggles, right? He struggles with the Buffalo Bills. Came back a little strong last year. I think he had 6.5 sacks for the Buffalo Bills last year. So very happy with that. But still wish he could have done more for us throughout his tenure. That's why we didn't give him that 5th-year option, and now he's gone. So does AJ Epenesa fall into that category? Now, I will say, and I said this in the chat when someone put this comment in the video that I did, I will say that I think Bills Mafia will have lower expectations of AJ Epenesa because he was not a first-round draft pick. So that actually works in Epenesa's favor, that he was a late 2nd-round pick instead of us picking him up in the 1st round, where I think if we got him 22nd overall, the expectations definitely would have been a little bit higher for him coming out his 1st season. I think we don't mind if he's a rotational defensive edge player this season especially, and if he only plays 35-40% of snaps, that's okay for us Bills fans, knowing that he was a 2nd-round pick. Moving into the 3rd round. The 3rd round, I want to dug around the Bills. New England took him, and now he's dead to me. He's dead to me. Forget him. It's all right. It's really all New England got this draft, so I'm really okay with that. Moving on to the 3rd round. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills with their 3rd-round pick number 86, pick up running back Zack Moss out of Utah. Again, I love this pick. I love Zack Moss. I'm a big fan. There were other running backs that I had regarded higher just because how late we could have picked him up. But if you gave me, everyone knew I loved Evans out of Appalachian State. If you would have told me that Evans was going to go in the 3rd round as well, I would have rather Zack Moss. One thing I liked about Evans, actually I think Evans went in the early 3rd, maybe even late 2nd. One thing I like about Evans is I was expecting him to go in the 4th, maybe even the 5th round, and we could definitely pick him up there and do some things with him at that point. But picking up Zack Moss at 86, running back out of Utah, I love that pick, okay? But again, let's play some devil's advocate. What if the Buffalo Bills, what if they did not go with a running back? What if Zack Moss didn't exist in this draft? Who would you have rather had? And I don't go far down this list until I see someone that I would have loved to have on this team. 2 picks later, the Cleveland Browns selected Jordan Elliott, defensive lineman out of Missouri. And we could tell with the pickup from yesterday that the Buffalo Bills still want to get some depth at defensive line. In the 3rd round, Jordan Elliott, great value there at number 88 overall for Cleveland. Would have been good value at 86 too. Would have added depth to that defensive line, added versatility to that defensive line. Same thing that Brian Cox does. That's something that Jordan Elliott would do, probably at a little bit higher of a level as well. You're talking about a 3rd-round pick potentially out of Missouri. I think that's a good pickup for Cleveland. I think that would have been a great pickup for the Buffalo Bills as well. You look at some of these other picks taken after the Buffalo Bills: Anthony Jennings, Cameron Dantzler, not a fan of his so much. Jonathan Grenard. Now, Jonathan Grenard would have been interesting, right? Let's pretend in the 1st round we picked up Dobbins, and then we got Grenard in the 2nd. Are you as happy as you are with Epenesa and Moss? I would tell you that I would not be. I would be happy with Dobbins. I would be happy with Grenard, but not as happy as I am with Epenesa and Moss. I think that's a great first 2 picks of your NFL draft. Again, like I said in the beginning of this episode, if you had told me that we still had our 1st-round pick, and in the 1st round we got Epenesa, and then in the 2nd round we got Zack Moss, I would have said that would have been a good first 2 picks for the Buffalo Bills. Devin Duvernay was a wide receiver taken from Baltimore. We talk about Darrington Evans. I'm a huge Darrington Evans fan. He was taken shortly after the Bills pick Zack Moss. So would you rather Darrington Evans over Zack Moss? Again, the reason why I liked Evans is because I thought he'd be a 4th, maybe a 5th-round pick, and we could get him a little bit later, focus on other positions in this draft. But if you told me that both players were going in the 3rd round, I'm going Zack Moss. He's the better athlete. He has the better tape. He has the better film. I think that he could be a better running back in the NFL. And one thing that translates really well in the NFL, broken tackles. And as I said in the Zack Moss video I did, Zack Moss had over 1,000 yards after contact this past season. That's unbelievable. He broke a tackle on a third, at least one tackle on a third of his rushes. It's unreal to see what Zack Moss can do when he has the ball in his hands. Really impressive. Again, guys, if you're just joining the channel, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like this video. Again, share this. Let people know that we're here. We're live talking Buffalo sports. If you were watching Dan Mitchell earlier, Don Mafia, he was live a little bit earlier. Always has a good time there. I watched that for a little bit after dinner, and I thought he did well. But yeah, we're always talking Buffalo Bills football, always having a good time. Plot twist. What if Belichick follows all the team's fan bases to see what they want? Well, he follows this fan base. We'll tell him that we want him out of New England. That's what we want. So we'll see what happens there. So we go on to round 4. Round 4, the Buffalo Bills, of course, select wide receiver out of UCF, Gabe Davis, right? Gabriel Davis out of UCF, a great pick here at 128. Has third round potential, picked up in the 4th round. Again, a very deep wide receiver class, so it's easy to see why he fell to the 4th round. I think the Buffalo Bills did a great job here. Again, I really like this pick. I think it's a good pick, picking up Gabe Davis. But I will say there's one wide receiver that went after he did, not far down the line after he did, that I personally like better than Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis was not on my radar all that much. I like him. I think he's a good wide receiver. I think he's going to do well for Buffalo. 6'2", got a little size to him, right? I was hoping to get a little bit taller, and we did, as Jack Patrick said earlier. Late in this draft, we did get taller, but, however, we could have got taller here, and I think it would have worked out better for the Buffalo Bills. If you look down, we picked up Gabriel Davis at pick 128. If you look down at pick 142, the Washington Redskins picked up wide receiver Antonio Gandy Golden. Guys, I'm a huge Antonio Gandy Golden fan. I thought that he was and possibly is going to be a standout in the NFL. Maybe not Pro Bowl type, but he's definitely going to make an impact in the NFL. You're talking about a 6'4" wide receiver out of Liberty. Hey, Anthony, how you doing? Glad that you can make it on board here for this live stream for the Buffalo Bills. We're currently talking about the NFL draft for the Buffalo Bills and what they could have potentially done better. Again, if you saw my draft grade video, you know I gave them an A-, so there's not much I feel like they could have done better. But we are getting into those mid to late rounds where I do think they might have missed out on some opportunities. This is not one of those where I'm too upset about it. Again, we went with the right position, picking up a wide receiver, whether it's Gabe Davis or Gab Davis or whether it's Antonio Gandy Golden. Obviously, it's a coin flip right now, right? It's a crapshoot. We don't know who's going to have the better NFL career. Obviously, at this point, we want it to be Davis, but I really liked Gandy Golden out of Liberty. You give me one of those small school kids who can make a name for himself. He has that size that Buffalo Bills fans wanted going into this draft. I like Gandy Golden, fell to 142. That's someone the Buffalo Bills could have looked at. They probably did, but I do like the Gabe Davis pick at 128. Some other possibilities where we could have gone in between 120 for pick 128 that I would not have minded is we could have picked up Colby Parkinson, tight end out of Stanford, went to Seattle, pick 133. I really liked him a lot. Got Shaquille Quarterman. I feel like he actually went really early, in my opinion, to Jacksonville. But I really like Antonio Gandy Golden out of Liberty. That's one place I would have went. Then we go on to the 5th round. And in the 5th round, the Buffalo Bills had the 167th overall pick. And this is probably a pick that most non-Bills fans talked about for the Buffalo Bills. And that's when we picked up. I'm not second-guessing me. Here you go, Daniel. And this is what I'm saying. I am not, listen, I'm pretty sure that Brandon Beane did more homework than I did. I'm pretty sure the scouts, I'm just playing a little devil's advocate. I'm having a little fun with it and just trying to see what could have been, right? What could have been. We can always look back later and say, hey, would this have been the right thing? I did give this draft an A- grade, and I stick by that grade. But there are a couple picks And I'm coming up on one here soon, not this pick, but I'm coming up on one soon where I wonder if it was the right decision. Rich, thank you for the $10 donation. Glad that you can be a part of the live stream. He says, what up, Joe? Been a long time since I've been this excited to be a Buffalo Bills fan. Let's go, Buffalo. This is our year, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you, Rich. Always glad that you can be a member. Always glad that you can be here joining us on these live streams. Yeah, like Rick said, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Our new backup quarterback, 5th. I wanted Edwards, says Dan. Yeah, Edwards was another guy that would have been available early in the draft. But the 5th round pick, again, the one that the media talked most about. If you weren't a Bills fan and you wanted to hear about the Buffalo Bills, this is the pick you heard about. With the 167th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select quarterback out of Georgia, Jake Fromm. And again, no issue with this pick. You talk about best player available. Jake Fromm was absolutely the best player available at this time. The fact that he fell to the 5th round, I'm surprised teams weren't trying to trade up to get him. Teams were trying to trade up to see what they needed to sell for Jake Fromm. Talk about a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, for example. Have been for a year or two, but they know that might not last that long. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers even could went after Jake Fromm and then seen what Tom Brady could teach the young kid until he's ready to become a starter. I'm surprised neither of those teams tried to make a move and try to get Jake Fromm, but with the 167th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select Jake Fromm. Now, we'll talk about this more with the roster when the roster comes up, but that means the Buffalo Bills currently have 4 quarterbacks on their roster, so we do have to look out for that. Obviously, we're probably only going to keep 2 when we become a 53-man roster. Does Jake Fromm become one of those 2, or are we putting Jake Fromm on the practice squad for one more season because Matt Barkley only has 1 season left on his contract? Or, and I thought about this too, what if we trade Matt Barkley for a 6th or 7th round pick? If teams are QB desperate, right? At some point, teams are going to become desperate for a quarterback. The last time Matt Barkley started a game with the starters in, he put up 41 points against the New Jersey Jets. So we do have to remember that. Did he have a poor showing week 17? Absolutely. But that was a whole different offensive line. That was all new wide receivers. Remember, Duke Williams was the #1 wide receiver in that game, and no issue with Duke Williams playing in that game. But when you have Duke Williams as your #1 wide receiver, you know that you're probably going to be in for a long day, and that's exactly what happened with Matt Barkley. The last time Matt Barkley had starters, though, you're talking about put up 41 points. Again, Rich, thank you for the $10 donation. I really do appreciate it. I know that for some of you, times can be tough, so you definitely don't have to donate. I appreciate it, and it all goes back into the channel. One thing you can do, though, hit that thumbs up button. Really helps out. I really do appreciate that. Don't forget we have Joe Webb, Dan. So we have Joe Webb, we have Matt Barkley, we have, unless you're saying we carry 3 over in the 53-man roster, maybe that's what you're saying. We're going to carry 3 into the 50, because you have 55 men now, so it does create extra space for maybe a quarterback to come in. But don't know why you would want to do that unless, like Joe Webb, you can help out on special teams, something like that. But I feel like Matt Barkley and Jake Fromm would be on there for the same exact reason. Not sure if I want that for the team at this time. But now you have 4 quarterbacks on this team. So we have to ask ourselves, at 167, where could the Bills have gone? What could the Bills have done differently that may have impacted the Buffalo Bills roster more at the start of the season? And maybe that's part of it too. Again, what did we talk about a lot during the pre-draft session, during the pre-draft channel things, right? We talk about how the Buffalo Bills could take best player available, and that's exactly what they do here. And I love the fact that that's what the Buffalo Bills do here with the 167th pick, taking Jake Fromm. But as I look down this list, I say, what could the Bills have done better? Or what could they at least have done differently? On my grade video, I did give this pick an A-. So I wonder, is there a pick on here that the Buffalo Bills could have picked up where I would say, hey, that's an A pick. That's an A pick, maybe an A+ pick. And I go down to pick 178, the Denver Broncos. Again, a team that I said I thought had a great draft. And this pick is one of the reasons why. At pick 178, the Denver Broncos select linebacker Justin Sternad, out of Wake Forest. And if you look at this kid's tape, he is very impressive. And if you look at one position that the Buffalo Bills could continue to get stronger in, that's that linebacker position. Again, losing Lorenzo Alexander, I know we brought in Klein. I know we brought in some pieces to kind of maybe a time gap for that linebacker position. But if we do lose Matt Milano next season because we don't have enough money to re-sign him, if we can't get the production out of AJ Klein that we were hoping for, maybe it would have been good to pick up a young stud type linebacker, which Justin Sternad could have been out of Wake Forest. I just don't think Barkley will be re-signed next year. I don't think so either. I think it's going to be Jake Fromm's job, the backup quarterback job, sooner rather than later. That's just my opinion as well. The only thing I don't like about the Fromm pick is having to hear some fans talk about how he should start over Josh. I'm lucky that I can just turn off those conversations. We all know those conversations are ridiculous. I think that's just an absurd statement that we think that our 5th round pick can start over Josh Allen. There's a reason why I fell to the 5th round. I feel like he is going to be, I feel like he's going to be a great backup. I really do. And hopefully he helps out Josh Allen. But Josh Allen's obviously our guy. But yeah, I look at Justin Sternad out of Wake Forest, and I say that would have been a great pick for the Buffalo Bills. Maybe fill in a little bit of a void at that linebacker position. I wouldn't have had an issue with it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Again, I like the Jake Fromm pick. I gave it an A-, I believe, but maybe we could have done a little bit better. However, I think Barkley is a solid back. I do too. But why not try to get better than solid, especially if you get him for a cheap rookie deal? Right? You talk about that deal, that rookie deal. You can get better solid. If you can do better than solid and you can do it cheaper, why wouldn't you do it? That's not a knock on Barkley at all. I think Barkley's a really good backup quarterback. And again, I think he's unfairly criticized for that Week 17 game against the Jets where we had no one in there. No one was in there. The only 2 people that were in there that sometimes make a start were Trent Murphy on the one side, and I believe Devin Singletary played for a little bit. Those are the only 2 guys who actually normally played on the Buffalo Bills regular season game who were in there for a normal amount of time during that game. And so I don't blame him for that game at all. Again, you go back 2 seasons ago, he put up 41 points against the same Jets team. So obviously back then he had the starters, and obviously we saw a difference. Now we're getting into a position or pick, probably my least favorite draft pick of the NFL draft for the Buffalo Bills. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Spin, let me get to your question first, okay? As we get to the 188th overall pick for the Buffalo Bills. If the Bills place a player on practice squad and another team claims the player, can the Bills match the offer and retain the rights to the player, or does the team automatically get them? That's up to how good the player's agent is, right? Because in order for the Bills to do that, the Bills would. So it really all depends on how good the agent is. But normally, like if I'm a player and I'm on a practice squad and this team, no matter what the team wants to add me to their roster, I'm going, right? I'm going. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. So I really think it depends how good your agent is. But if a team, and you have to feel it coming, really, because if a team decides to pick you up, then you have to, you don't really have that option to say no. You go to wherever, again, because you know if a team picks you up, you're going to be on the active roster. So you would much rather be on an active roster collecting those paychecks than not be on an active roster, be on a practice squad where the paychecks are just a little bit smaller. So I think, and what I know about it, which again, that's a good question. I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate. I'm not going to lie and say I know what I'm talking about because I rarely do. But I believe that as soon as a team says they're going to pick you up, it would be in your best interest to go. And I think that you normally would go every single time. But depending how good your agent is, if your agent can feel it coming, he senses it. If he gets off the phone and says that I think the Bills are getting ready to pick us up, so you don't have that option, then he can call the Bills and be like, hey, this team's interested. What, would you rather us go? What do you want to do? But again, that's really up to the player's agent. If I'm a player, I want to go to a team where I'm on an active roster. So Fromm isn't even in competition for the backup QB this season, says Spin. He might be. We'll see what happens. We will really see what happens. Everyone says Fromm. Dan, that's why he is really smart. That's why he didn't have a lot of interceptions in college. He might have a weak arm. Everyone talks about how weak of an arm he has. Well, he might have had a weak arm, but he only had less than 10 interceptions. Like I think he had 13 interceptions his whole career. So I think that takes some smarts, right? If you don't have a strong arm and you could still be smart enough to not throw a lot of interceptions, not force, because Jameis Winston has a strong arm, but we saw how good that did for Tampa Bay. So, yeah, I think future coach. We've seen a lot of backup quarterbacks become future coach. Frank Reich, right? All right, so this is the pick I like the least as far as the Buffalo Bills draft pick. Guys, if you could say there's one pick you like the least, which one would it be? For me, it's pick 188 when the Buffalo Bills select kicker Tyler Bass out of Georgia Southern. And listen, I like this kid. I think, everyone by now, if you're a Bills fan, you've seen this video of him kicking a 55-yard field goal without taking a step. He doesn't even take a step. He doesn't stride. He doesn't do anything. He just kicks a 55-yard field goal, and it's good. And it's good by a good distance. And then he takes one step and kicks a 65-yarder. So he has the leg. He has the boom. He has the pop. And when you're playing in Buffalo, November, December, you want someone with a strong leg. You want someone who can cut the wind and just kick it, rip between the field goal pipes and say, it's good. Obviously, Stephen Hauschka is losing that a little bit, right? Obviously, Stephen Hauschka is losing a little bit of that leg. However, Spin says he loves the kicker pick. However, what do we need? If you had to pick one position on special teams that the Bills needed before the draft, kicker or punter? Would you rather keep Stephen Hauschka or Corey, I don't know how to pronounce your name and I don't care, Bjorges? Which one would you rather? I'd rather Stephen Hauschka. Again, I don't dislike Tyler Bass. I think he's going to be a good kicker. But in Georgia Southern, in his 4-year career, he had a field goal percentage of just under 80%. I don't care if you kick the ball 70 yards. If you can't kick it accurately, it really doesn't matter. Now, he was 93%. In 2019, he was 93% on field goals between, I think it was 30 and 50 yards. That's awesome. He was perfect. His last 2 seasons, he was perfect at extra points. But you have to remember, in college, they still have a 25-yard extra point. Jordan and I called the Bills pick. We did. But if you had to pick one, who do you trust more? Stephen Hauschka or Corey, I don't care, Bjorges? I trust Stephen Hauschka. 5 for 5 in that playoff game. 9 for 9 towards the end of the season. His last 9 field goals, he made them, including a game-tying field goal with time running out in a playoff game. Give me Stephen Hauschka. 3 picks after the Buffalo Bills take Tyler Bass. The New York, New Jersey Jets take Braden Mann, punter, Texas A&M. Stephen Hauschka was 1 for 5 from beyond 50 yards. But does that matter if you can't kick it accurately? Again, this guy was 93% on field goals between 30 and 50 yards. That's awesome. But if he was 93% from field goals from 30 to 50 yards, and he finished with just below 80% overall in his career, how good was he from beyond 50 yards? How many times did he attempt that 55-yarder with no steps before they put it on camera and they posted it? How many attempts did he have? We don't know. I understand he was 1 for 5 on attempts of over 50 yards. But are you going to be happy when this guy's 1 for 5 on kicks over 50 yards, but he hits the net? Oh, but he hit the net behind, or he hit it into the 5th row. He Mike Vanderjacked it all the way into the next stadium, but he made it long enough. No, we want an accurate kicker. Know your kicker's limitations then, and say if it's a 52-yarder, okay, well, maybe we'll go for it on 4th and 5. I think I'd much rather a punter. That's all I'm saying. The win came on strong late. Hauschka is money as long as it's not over 50 yards. I'm just saying I would have rather personally, and you guys can agree, of course. Personally, I would have rather a punter over a kicker. Hell, we could have got both. We could have got both. And good thing about Tyler Bass, he did punt. I think about somewhere between 5 and 10 times while I was in college. So maybe the coaching staff asked him, "Hey, would you mind being a punter?" And he was like, "I'll do anything on a football team, coach. I'll do everything." And something that can't be underestimated of Tyler Bass's game, I think he only allowed something like 9 or 12 kickoff returns this whole season. That's something that Stephen Hauschka has a hard time doing as well, as kicking the ball into the end zone on special teams. So that's something that you probably want to do a little bit more of in the NFL. So this guy does do a good job at that. So, obviously I have an issue with that pick, if you couldn't tell. Still gave it an A- my grades, maybe. I think I was leaning more towards B+, but then that's just because it's good value. You get the best kicker. I believe you get the best kicker of the NFL draft with the 188th overall pick. I do. I really do. I think Tyler Bass is going to be, out of this draft class, I think Tyler Bass has the best chance to succeed. So, for that, you have to give the Buffalo Bills credit. I just think I would have rather gone punter over field goal kicker. That's all. That's all. But then the Buffalo Bills have 2 sixth-round draft picks. 2 sixth-round draft picks, and the second one comes at pick 207 when they select 6'4" wide receiver out of Oregon State, Isaiah Hodgins. Love this pick. Too bad XFL folded already. Yeah, it's a shame. And the shame about XFL folding is if they would have folded under, listen, the attendance was going down already. The viewership on TV was going down, so you could see where it was heading. But you hate that something else influenced that, right? You hate that something else influenced that decision. I wanted to see the XFL succeed. I was not going to get highly invested in the XFL until it lasted more than one season. Obviously, it didn't do that. But you would love to see these leagues succeed, and it's sad to see that some outside force forced them to shut the doors. Again, it seemed like it was heading in that direction again anyway, but just to see something like that put a halt to it is a shame. And again, guys, make sure you're being safe out there. Hope that you guys are all being safe, healthy. I want to see you guys back here every Thursday. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to stay safe and healthy, and I appreciate you guys joining me. Again, hit that like button if you haven't already. So with the 207th overall draft pick, the Buffalo Bills redeem themselves to picking up a kicker and get Isaiah Hodgins, wide receiver out of Oregon State. I love this pick. 6'4". This guy can do a lot. I think this is an absolute steal in the 6th round. I think this guy has a chance to make the 53/55-man roster. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think he has a chance to make the 55-man roster in 2020? I really think he does. I think that the Buffalo Bills got an absolute steal with Isaiah Hodgins. Again, in a deep wide receiving class, that's what's going to happen. You're going to find these guys late that would have gone earlier in other drafts, but just for this draft, this is where he ends up, and I think the Buffalo Bills had a steal here. However, let's pretend Isaiah Hodgins didn't exist. He's off the board. He was picked up. Let's say he was picked by Jacksonville at pick 206. Who do the Buffalo Bills take? So out of all those other picks in the 6th round after the Buffalo Bills picked at 207, let's go through them. Jack Hansen, center. We don't need a center. We got 3 of them now. Simon Stepanak, Indiana, offensive tackle, no thanks. Prince Tega Wanago out of Auburn. I like him, but I don't know if we need an offensive tackle there. Cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, UMass. Now again, I'm looking at that cornerback position, and I know we pick one up later. That's the next pick, and I love that kid too, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But Isaiah Rodgers out of UMass, I think he's going to be, a couple years to develop. I think he has a chance to be a good NFL prospect for a team, the Indianapolis Colts in this scenario, down the line. I think that he's a really good cornerback at UMass. I think you watch some film on him. If he was a Buffalo Bill, I would have been very excited about that. However, I love the Isaiah Hodgins pick. I'm pretty sure I gave this one an A+, and I still think that's an A+ for the Buffalo Bills. Now you go into the 7th round. In the 7th round, with the 239th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select my second favorite pick of the draft for the Buffalo Bills. This is my second favorite pick for the draft of the Buffalo Bills. With the 239th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select cornerback Dane Jackson out of Pittsburgh. I don't know why I lost his name there for a second. Dane Jackson out of Pittsburgh, cornerback. Again, I felt like the Buffalo Bills needed to address the cornerback position at some point in this draft. Does addressing him in the 7th round count? Maybe. But you look at this kid, and I talked about this during my other video about him. Dane Jackson in high school was a quarterback offense. And then in college, he went to Pittsburgh and he decided to move to the cornerback position where he played really well for his last 2 seasons. So you're talking about a guy who has raw potential, talent. He's only playing cornerback for the past 4 years. And he was a starter on Pitt for 2 of them. Pitt, a Power 5 team, Power 5 conference team. He was a starter, aren't they? I don't know, maybe they're not. But still, he was a starter on Pitt for 2 seasons. That says something about how hard this guy worked. That says something about this guy's raw ability, his raw talent. To be a quarterback in high school and lead his team in rushing, lead his team in passing, obviously. And then to come play cornerback. And in 4 seasons, in 2 seasons, become the starter at a Division I college anywhere. And then to make it into the NFL draft. He had a good combine. I think that's a good pick. I really like that pick. They need 90 players for the offseason, right? Correct, Spin, correct. And we're going to get to the roster here. I know this is a long video, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me. But we're almost done here with the NFL draft. Who would you rather have gotten? And for this pick at 239, love Dane Jackson. There's no one else I would rather at this pick. But if we have to pick somebody, I'm going with Chris Williamson. Again, another cornerback, Minnesota. Went to the Giants at 247. So that is my Did the Bills Get It Right rant about the NFL draft. Again, A- on this draft class. Beautiful draft class. I won't have done anything different about the Epenesa pick, Zack Moss pick, and then this Dane Jackson pick. Nothing different about those. Those are great picks. Will Gandy Golden be better than Gabe Davis? Maybe. But I could be wrong. And at this point, I'm happy to be wrong because that's what the Buffalo Bills got is Gabe Davis. Could we have gone punter instead of kicker in the 6th round? I think so. Was Jake Fromm the best pick for the Buffalo Bills in the 5th round? He was definitely the best player available. Definitely. But was he the best pick for the Buffalo Bills in the 5th round? Those are some of the questions that I had about the 2020 NFL Draft. But overall, like I said, an A- for the Buffalo Bills. I have no issue with this draft class. I love it, and I hope you do too. Let me know in the comment section. Dane Jackson is in some of the highlights for the wide receivers we took. Yeah, I mean, he's a good kid. And you see his tackling ability. Great tackling ability. Also, you want to know who else is in a highlight video of someone we picked this year? That's going to be Josh Allen, of course. AJ Epenesa's first college sack was against Josh Allen at Wyoming, so it was cool to see. I put that on my highlight video of our 7 draft picks. If you haven't checked that one out, there was a few videos ago, but check that out. It's a really cool video. I really enjoy that one. So now, let's talk about where this leaves the Buffalo Bills roster. Where after these draft picks, after these undrafted free agents, after the pickup of Cox Jr. yesterday, where does this leave this roster? Well, we need 90 guys, or we could have up to 90 guys in the offseason. And as of today, the Bills have 87. Now, if you look at Spot Track, it's going to say 86, but if you read down a little bit further, Christian Wade is still on that international exemption list, right? He will be on the international exemption list up until August. So even though he's on the exemption list, he doesn't necessarily count against the 29-man or the 90-man roster. I'm going to count him, and I'm saying 87 because Christian Wade's going to have a chance to make this 55-man roster. I'm not going to say he's going to have a good chance, but he's going to have a chance to make this 55-man roster. In order to do that, we have to take him off the exemption list, and we have to put him on that 90-man roster. So the Bills are going to do that at some point. It's just a matter of time. So right now, if you look at this roster, after everything that happened over the draft, after the thing that happened yesterday when we signed Brian Cox Jr., the Buffalo Bills have 87 players on the roster. That means we have 3 open spots. Where do we think those 3 open spots are going to be at? Well, I broke down the roster as it sits today. As the roster sits today, and I take a look and say, this might be a spot where they plug someone in. plug in some depth this offseason. But who knows? Do we necessarily need that depth if we have less time in the offseason due to everything that's going on in the world with this pandemic? Who knows? But if you look at the current roster, the Buffalo Bills have 11 wide receivers, so I don't think we're going to need a wide receiver. Last year, our 90-man roster consisted of 11 wide receivers. This year, we have our 11 wide receivers. I don't think we're going to need any more. Again, we're already going to have to make some tough cuts when it comes to that wide receiver position. 6 tight ends. 6 tight ends. Again, I don't think we need any more tight ends. I wish we had better tight ends. The only one I love, the only one that I really have confidence in, even though we had a lot of drops last season, is Dawson Knox. That's it. That's the only one I have any resemblance of confidence in. The rest of them, I think, you can take them or leave them, right? I want to see Tyler Kroft do more. Obviously, the injury last season did not help anything. But who's to say he won't get injured again this offseason? I just don't trust any of them other than Dawson Knox. Tommy Sweeney, I just need to see more of, right? So I'm glad he's on the roster. But I don't need no Lee Smith. I don't need Nate Becker. Give me a tight end that can catch the ball downfield. That's a threat. That's what I'm looking for. What about O-line? Our guys are old. We're going to get to O-line. In fact, we have 8 offensive tackles. 8 offensive tackles. So I don't know if that's a spot you're going to see many more players added in. I just don't see that. You have 6 safeties. Pretty good number there. 6 running backs if you include Christian Wade. Now remember last year when we had a 90-man roster, we had 8 running backs. We have 6 right now. So do we add another running back on the list? Possibly. 4 quarterbacks. Now some of you are saying we're going to carry over 3, and that's possible. I think we're going to keep 4 on the 90-man roster. Good camp body, right? You love to see what Joe Webb has. Obviously, if you can help on special teams, that's even better. You want to see what Jake Fromm can do, right? But I don't think you pick a quarterback in the 5th round to release him. Remember, a lot of people loved Jackson last year at Buffalo. He was an undrafted free agent, and the Buffalo Bills almost kept him. So I don't think you're going to get a quarterback in the 5th round and not have him be on the roster unless you move him to the practice squad. But if you move Jake Fromm to the practice squad, does a team come up and pick him up? Does a team try to snatch him and put him on? Because remember last year, how many quarterbacks got hurt last year? A lot. Drew Brees was hurt for a little while. Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. A bunch of people got hurt. Cam Newton was hurt. A bunch of them. Phillip Rivers, right? Something like that. I don't know. There was a bunch of them that got hurt. So if that happens, do they come and snatch Jake Fromm from us? McGee loves players like Lee Smith. He's staying. I don't know why he loves Lee Smith. Probably because he was a former wrestler or something like that. I don't know. But Lee Smith frustrates the heck out of me. They keep 10 linemen to get the extra active roster spots on game day. Well, there you go. Listen to Spino 481. He's got the breakdown. 6 safeties, 6 running backs, 4 quarterbacks. We only have 1 punter. You better believe that I'm pulling this out every time I see that we have 1 punter and who it is. Pulling out my hair every single time. It's ridiculous. We need to get rid of him. We need to move on. However, I also know that more than likely we're only keeping 1 punter on the 53-man roster. Now, last year, we did have 2 punters on the 90-man roster. Okay? So I wouldn't be surprised if we added another punter, even if it's just for competition. Even if it's just for competition, I think we're going to add another punter somewhere down the line. We have 9 linebackers. Pretty sure that's a pretty good number. We have 1 long snapper. That's all we need. Reed Ferguson, keep doing your job. I feel like Reed Ferguson kind of fell off last year. Hopefully he can bring it back this year. Last year, remember, during the offseason, he signed a contract extension and got some more money. I want to see more production out of Reed Ferguson. But again, that's our 1 long snapper. 3 kickers right now. 3 kickers. Why do we have 3 kickers? That's another reason why I don't get the kicker draft pick. But we have 3 kickers on our roster right now. Steven Auschka, obviously. Tyler Bass, obviously. And Kare Vedvik. Kare Vedvik, maybe? So 3 kickers. 1 punter, 3 kickers. Why? Why? Unless one of those kickers is being moved to the punter position. Very possible that they switch one over. They convert one to the punter. Because let's be honest. A tree could punt better than Corey does. Okay, a tree. Not even a big tree. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, no, Vedvik spin. Vedvik's listed as a kicker according to Spot Track. So maybe Vedvik is moving to the punter position. Maybe he is. We have 6 offensive guards. So if you had 6 guards, 8 tackles, 14 plus our 2 centers. So now you're talking about 16, right? 14 plus 2, still 16 offensive linemen overall. I think that's a pretty good number there. 2 fullbacks, that's more than enough there. 8 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles, and 9 cornerbacks. So that gives us our 87-man roster. Where can we add 3? Where can we add 3? So let's say, Spin, let's say you're right. Corey has his moments. Let's say, Spin, let's say you're right. Let's say Vedvik has moved to the punter position. So we have 2 and 2. We don't need to add anything there. We have 3 roster spots. Where are we adding them? Again, I think we got 1 at running back. We only have 6 running backs right now. Again, I think the 6 running backs we have the 3 or 4 that are going to make this 53-man roster. But we had 8 last year at the 90-man. Let's see if we add 1 here, right, for that depth, for that camp depth. So add 1 at running back. I think we're going to add 1 at defensive tackle. We only have 5 defensive tackles right now. Normally we carry over 4 defensive tackles. So you're going to want to add another body in there at defensive tackle. So that's 1 more position. So that leaves us with 1 spot. And I just can't find this 1 spot. Where is it going to be? Let me know what you think, guys. Where do you think this 1 spot's going to be? Do we add another offensive guard? I mean, we have 6 guards, 8 tackles. So maybe we add an offensive guard. However, Spencer Long, who is our backup center, could play guard. So really, do we have, and then Bohm right now is listed as a guard / center as well. So I don't know. But I think we have 1 running back. I think we have 1 defensive tackle, and I'm not sure where that 3rd player is going to be. Hey Vaughn, how you doing? Glad you could join us from San Diego, man. Hopefully the weather's nice. It's pouring here, absolutely pouring. If you're from New York, it's pouring there too. So hopefully you got nicer weather than we do right now up there out west in San Diego. Glad you could join us. Spin says outside linebacker. Again, we have 9 linebackers, but we know that we could use some help there. Again, I was talking about possibly adding linebacker in the draft being a place where the Bills could have done something. Right now, our outside linebacker situation is Mario Radisson. We know that he's getting up there in age. AJ Klein, not nearly as good as a Lorenzo Alexander type, and Matt Milano. So that's a good spot. Spin brought up linebacker. So let's say we add running back, add a linebacker, and add a defensive tackle. That would put us at our 90-man roster. So how much money do we have to do that? Great question. So we don't know the exact numbers for the 2020 NFL draft picks yet, but according to Spot Track, we're going to add about somewhere in the area of $5.5 million in salary cap to our 2020 draft picks. I hate my computer. It's all user error though. So let's go to this real quick. Go over spottrack.com. Spottrack.com is a place to go for all of your salary information. Great place to look up this type of information. So if you look at their projected draft pick pool, they're saying that the Bills are projected to spend about $5.3 million in the NFL draft. Now we didn't have a first round pick, so our number's obviously a little bit lower than most teams. Another reason why you fall in love with that using that first round pick on Stephon Diggs, right? Because that contract's very friendly, that Stephon Diggs contract. So I'm happy about that. So you look at the Buffalo Bills. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are looking at about, where are our cap space numbers? I have it written down somewhere. Hold on. A little over $20 million in cap space for the Buffalo Bills. So, with that being said, if you add the $5.7 million, that leaves us with about $14.5 million in cap space. And that does not include the Cox Jr. signing as well. So you can imagine that maybe somewhere between $13 and $13.5 million in cap space are the Buffalo Bills after they sign the draft picks, after They signed Brian Cox Jr. So we're in pretty good shape. Now we know that Brandon Beane, we know that GMs like to keep some money for the regular season in case something is to happen, in case we lose like a Adrian Waddle, someone like that. He's still out there, by the way, just saying. But yeah, just in case something like that is to happen, we need to pick somebody up. We want to leave some money for that potential, right? We want to leave some money for the potential to pick up someone, maybe trade for someone who might be a little bit better than your bottom of the barrel position. So we'll see what happens. Can they roll out? Yes, they can roll over extra cap space. In fact, the Buffalo Bills rolled over cap space from 2019 to 2020. To give you that, the 2019 rollover was 22.6 million. So yes, they can roll over, and you can look to see us roll over some money because we want to be able to re-sign Trey White. We want to be able to re-sign Tremaine Edmonds or Matt Milano or Deion Dawkins, people like that. We want to be able to re-sign some people. So you expect to see some rollover, and expect to see the Buffalo Bills hopefully leave some space just in case something's happening, injury, things like much. That ain't much. It's better than a lot of other teams, though. If you look, I think the Buffalo Bills are like somewhere like 13th or 14th in cap space, so it's not that terrible. So we'll see what happens. But yes, Spin, you are correct, Daniel. Thank you. You can roll it over, and I expect the Buffalo Bills to do at least some of that. I know we are loaded at tight end, but dang it, I want O.J. Howard here. Maybe part of the trade is the tight end too, right? Tampa Bay obviously loaded in tight ends right now. Let's say we trade for O.J. Howard. We trade a 4th or a 5th round draft pick and, I don't know, Tyler Kroft, Jason Kroom, someone like that, Nate Becker. I mean, I think we're going to keep Lee Smith, Dawson Knox, and Tommy Sweeney. I think those three are probably, Tyler Kroft is probably safe unless we can get O.J. Howard for him. But I think if you're going to tell me we're keeping 3 tight ends, it's probably Kroft, Smith, and Knox. Sweeney might be on the practice squad like he was a lot last season, or maybe on the 53-man roster, not the 47. I think he did that a couple times last year as well. Jason Kroom, Nate Becker, I think they're definitely on the outside looking in at this time. I would love to get O.J. Howard too. I think it would definitely be a vast improvement to this tight end room. So maybe we could use one of them to help us trade to get an O.J. Howard type player. But we'll see what happens, guys. We will see what happens. But I kept you up to date on the salary, guys. Again, we're currently sitting at around 20-some million. That's before the $5.5 million taken away from the draft picks and the Knox Jr. pickup yesterday. So going to be somewhere between maybe 13.5 million when that's all said and done. I gave you some information about the draft, some things that I loved about this draft. Again, 3 picks I wouldn't have touched. A.J. Epenesa. You're talking about the running back Moss in the 2nd round, and of course talking about Jackson in the 7th round. I love that pick. The other picks, I liked them, but we could maybe done a little better. 1.35 subs, yeah. I'm moving on up. And I appreciate it, guys. I thank you guys for that, and I thank you guys for joining me on this live Thursday night edition of Billievers Talk. Again, guys, join me every Thursday night. Every Thursday night, there's something to talk about. We'll give you something to talk about some Buffalo Bills. Every Thursday night, 9:30. We always have a good time. I appreciate what all you guys have done to make this channel a success, to help me get to those 1.35 subs. Again, if you're not subscribed to Billievers Talk, hit that subscribe button for continual Buffalo Bills news. Again, when news breaks, I'm going to bring it to you. I'm going to bring it to you as soon as I can, whether it be on my phone, my tablet, my laptop, however I have to do it. You know I'm going to bring it to you right here on Billievers Talk. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video. If you're watching this on replay, leave a comment. I always enjoy getting back to you guys. But again, thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. And I just hope to continue to help this channel grow. And I thank you guys for that. So I will talk to you all soon. When more Bills news comes up, I'll bring it to you. I'll talk to you all soon. Until I do,